Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. If you pop in, feel free to say hello and where you are from. Guys, I'm here with my wine. I'm here with my cards, and I'm going to be pulling some cards for you guys. If you guys are here, if you want a card pulled, just let me know down below in the chat. So first of all, while I kind of like wait for people to trickle in and come in here, I wanted to just let you know about the decks I'm going to be using tonight. Now, obviously, I'm going to be using my Witchcraft Therapy Oracle deck. So this is a deck that I wrote. And so this is a deck I'm extremely comfortable with, obviously. Because not only did I write it, but I use it all the time. Now, one of the funny things about getting to write your own books and your own decks is that you get to write and create things that are the things that you wish that you had. And so it makes it really rewarding to actually get to engage with that stuff afterwards. I will say with books, it's a little bit different. I've written a few books. Oh, I have them down here. I've written a few books as well. And it's funny because with books, I don't usually go back and read my book so much. But when it comes to my deck, I use my deck all the time. I love my deck. And I'm super excited to be pulling cards from it today. So this is the Witchcraft Therapy Oracle, Intuitive Messages for Mental Health Magic. This deck I created specifically for people who approach their practice like I do. So I approach it from the perspective of secular, more of a secular approach. That doesn't mean I don't work with the spirit model, but this is for mental health, right? So the intention behind this deck is that you can like pull a card every day or whenever you need to. It's going to give you some quick actionable guidance. And then in the guidebook, there's also like a ritual, an activity, a practice, or something that you can do to actually integrate things right away. Something that I notice in this work is that there's a lot of people that do a lot of learning, but there's not a lot out there for if you're actually wanting things to be actionable. So I try and make everything I create actionable. So if you're here right now and you would like a card pulled, let me know. I will pull a card for you from my deck here. I also brought one of my other favorite decks. If you saw my video on intuitive cartomancy, or if you're on my email list, you will have heard of this deck before because I fucking love it. And so that one is the Soul Cards deck by Deborah 𝐾𝐨𝐲. I love this deck because it is an abstract deck. So some of you that have been in my world for a while will be so sick of hearing about this deck. But I love this deck because there's no guidebook of interpretations. I am longing to to create a deck like this one day. This deck, I love it because you can actually just interpret based on the imagery on the card itself. Now, as a person who does pretty much her entire practice in a intuitive manner, this fucking speaks to me so hard and I love it. Then we don't get hung up on like what the card is like quote unquote supposed to mean. Then we can really use it as a place to build our intuition. So if you guys are just popping in now and you want a card pull, let me know. Just say it in the chat if you would like a card pull and I will pull a card for you. So I see April is here. Hello, April. Hello. So good to see you today. I hope you're having a good day today. So I'm going to pull a card for April. And I'm going to pull it from my Witchcraft Therapy deck. So let's take a little look and let's check it out. Oh, I've got that thing where you've got like a couple that are trying to come up. So you got the card Flow. So April, if there's something happening in your life right now where you feel like maybe you're really wanting something to happen, or maybe you're really wanting something to not happen, this card is a reminder to get into a space of flow, to get into a space of, I hate like talking about surrender because it's always like so obnoxious. Like sometimes I feel like I'm like, I've surrendered enough. But you got the card Flow, which is basically just a reminder to go with the flow. Sometimes things that are really coming together for us are not coming together for us in the timeline that we would prefer. Sometimes they are happening and we have to kind of just, oh, I see Lauren here. So I had a conversation with Lauren once where we talked about going limp. Just go limp, April. people, just let yourself go limp. So that is your guidance from this card now. Let me know how that lands for you, April. So Lauren, I would love for you to pull a card that might give some clarity about the energy with this recent new moon really feeling wonky the past couple days. Yes, we are in a wild season, even just energetically feeling into things. It's very interesting because we are at a time where a lot of like established habits, routines, practices, modes, systems of operating are no longer working. And so people are being called to pivot. Hi, Tammy. So I'm going to pull a card for you from the Witchcraft Therapy Oracle, which is, oh my God, Lauren, I love this for you. So this one, the one you got is Daydream. Now, I know that you know that our minds are these beautiful machines of creation, right? These beautiful the image that's come to mind is a radio, right? So we can get all sorts of information. There's so much power in Daydream. Now, I find it interesting, Lauren, I find it really interesting that I get this card after me and you have recently had a conversation about active imagination. Just for you guys watching as well, I have a video on active imagination that's set to come out on Monday. But basically the guidance for you right now is to really lean hard into your daydream. Sometimes we're in seasons of planning and sometimes we're in seasons of building, and sometimes we're in seasons of getting more into a creative or intuitive flow. So I'm not sure how that's going to land for you, Lauren, but I would say take some time, like an actionable piece of advice for you would be take some time to really daydream, and not daydream for the sake of like, oh, I know for me personally, a lot of my daydreaming is really like, oh, I'm looking to open my creative channel so that I can get like information about this, that, and the other. But really just like actually like just no purposeful intention and just see what comes up for you. Because I feel like there could be like unexpected answers by looking, well, you know what it's like a maze, right? Sometimes we look for answers in one space of life and we'll get them from this other fucking space. So yeah, so Tammy, I'm gonna pull one for Tammy. Nice to see you, by the way, Tammy. I would love a card. I'm in a strange spot. I can't get motivated some days. Okay, so looking just before I pull that, I'm going to look at this comment here. So April is saying, I'll try my best. There's some annoying work related stuff going on. So I'll try and be limp and see how that goes. We love it. We love being limp. Everybody, you hear that? We love a limp day. We love limp energy. I never thought I would be saying that, but here we are. Okay, Lauren is saying, whoa, absolutely crazy synchronicity. Right before I jumped on here, I read a chapter about the power of imagination. I love that. Love that. What you're saying is actually eerie. Seriously, just read about this and then you're saying the same thing. You got to love some synchronicity. I love it. I love when the universe smacks me in my dumb head with its cosmic titty over and over and over again, hoping I'll get the message. But little does it know, I can be more stubborn. I'm like yelling into my microphone. Apologies. Okay, so Tammy. Oh my God, I love this one. I feel like every time I pull cards on here, I pull this card. Like I got a deck this size. There's 60 cards in my deck, you guys, and here I am pulling the same goddamn card every time I pull cards for y'all. It's kind of like my tarot deck that seems to be all towers. How does that work? But you got the D program card. And Tammy, what I'm feeling here for you, and I don't know if this is going to resonate with you at all, it's just for some reason I'm getting an actual message with you, is that there's some sort of should that is getting in the way of like your flow and what will be bringing you more energy, more peace, more joy, all that good shit. There is some sort of should that is standing in the way. So there's like, it's kind of like if you're looking at two doors and one door, like you think that's the only door that you can take, but then the other side, like right beside it, it's actually like an open wall and you can just walk through it at any time. The only thing that's stopping you is kind of like this invisible force field or barrier. And so I'm getting that with deprogram. Now the deprogram card in general is typically about really examining our worldview and our belief system and like what we actually think is fucking true and what we think is not true. So oftentimes we go through life with like a whole bunch of like internalized sets of rules, internalized sets of belief systems that are um not necessarily anything that we actually consented to from a logical space, from a heart-centered space, from a spiritual space. It's just a bunch of shit that was kind of like, I like to refer to it as pre-installed bloatware, right? You know, when you buy a new phone and it's got a bunch of shit on it and you're like, I don't need any of this and it's taking up so much space. It's kind of like that. So the deprogram card is really calls for us to dismantle our belief systems and figure out like, where did this come from? Where did this belief come from? Where did this idea, where did this set of rules, like I have to do things XYZ way, I have to show up XYZ way, where did that come from? And how can we actually just start taking that apart and go like, how do I actually feel on a soul level, like deep within? And so that's typically what this card is calling us to do, is to acknowledge this big giant blind spot that actually energetically will feel like a hand stopping you from doing something. And when we really kind of look into it, typically we can feel our way around that, and the fact that that's only there based on our belief. So looking here, that makes sense. It could be that I feel my family should be put before me and I'm putting off what I want to do. Yes, it's so funny because we hear that this is something that happens a lot with people that I work with so much, is that we spend so much of our time and energy putting everybody else before ourselves, which is like a very noble and beautiful thing to do. But on the shadow side, that's very much not saying in your case right now, but in general, for anybody listening to this, it can come from a place, this martyr space, right? So it can come from the space of like, when you always put yourself last, what you're really doing is kind of energetically teaching everything outside of you to also put you last, right? It's like the craziest thing. And one of the most interesting things is that the more you start looking after yourself, the more you start taking care of yourself, is like you actually have more to show up for other people in a better, more empowered way. Now, we all hear that like, oh my God, it's like, it's been said so much, it's a cliche. I think sometimes when these phrases or sayings have been said too many times, what ends up happening is we can block them out, we can blank them out, right? So there's a lot of things in our lives that if we see them all the time, it's like our brain goes, I know what that is, so I'm not going to use the energy to decipher that thing anymore. And it can be the same kind of thing. So there's that phrase of like, put your oxygen mask on first, which I always think is hilarious because we hear that when we're in a space of like hyperventilating, typically. Like when we're so fucking maxed out is when you hear that phrase. And it's like, of course, that doesn't make sense in that scenario. So what actually, that's actually like the point behind that is solid. And the point behind that is that if you are more resourced, that's how I'm going to say it. If you are more resourced, you are going to have more to be able to have as your output. So the example that I love to use that makes people mad at me sometimes, but if you saw my Matrix to Magic class, which was like potato quality, but I still think it's one of the greatest things I ever created, it's the example I use in that is like when we get so upset about what's happening in the world, not saying this is your situation, this is just an example. If we get so upset about what's happening in the world, we end up like really kind of taking the space where we have less resources to be there for people in our family, for people in our community. When we are putting ourselves last, it's very similar energy, where if we're constantly depleted and some part of us in the background is just like fighting for a break, fighting for our autonomy, like really, and as mothers, that's a fucking big one. Like literally as a mother, sometimes it's hard to feel like you are a person, but if you are a whole person first and taking care of yourself, that is going to make the way that you parent, the way that you show up for your family, the way that you are as like a partner or an employee or a sister or a brother or a friend or like whatever, so much better, just like straight off the hop. You have hit it's funny with that's hit like a particular passion point for me, because that was something I started having babies when I was 19, and that was something that was generally jarring for me. When you're pregnant, everyone's like, oh my God. And then you have the baby and all of a sudden it's like, fuck you, support system. How's that baby? You better just suck it up. And I think that's such a like weird bonkers things about our community and our society. Okay. So dealing with energetic blind spots lately, I can feel that something needs to shift, but the block feels sticky to get through. Yes, absolutely. When that happens, I love to like lean into this vision or this energy of like, you know, when something feels like it's coming through this, like it's like a rock and it's not very porous. The way I like to view that is like thinking of, for example, a desert plant that's coming out from like a really rocky soil that might have to actually like get its nutrients and get itself a little bit more formed before it comes to me. Something that I think about a lot, because I sometimes, like, my creative channels are usually pretty open, but when I want it to be functionally open, I usually get that sensation. And so I try and lean into this energy of like, okay, maybe whatever is going to come to me, maybe whatever my next phase is still incubating, right? So I like to take like an archetypal kind of approach to that. It's such a big mood. Hi, let me know if you would like a card, Eileen. Does anybody else here want a card? Or if you have any questions as well, feel free to ask me anything. I'm always happy to answer questions and things like that. I put out a call for if anybody had any questions. I had a couple. One of them was if I had any brothers or sisters, which no, I am an only child. I feel like that's like fairly obvious. um, but that was one of the questions I got. I also got a question of how I'm doing. And you guys, I'm not going to fucking sugarcoat this shit. 2025 has been a fucking beast. If you go back, I did some energy readings at the beginning of the year. I did a full energy reading for 2025. And one of the really interesting things was like, of course, it still shocks me, but I'm like, a lot of it has been coming to pass. So what I predicted at the beginning of 2025 is that this was going to be a year of integration. It is time to stop thinking. It is shit or get off the pot time. Whatever the fuck that means for you, it's time to stop the rationalization, the intellectual masturbation, like all of these things where we're just like gathering. And it's time to be implementing, putting things into practice. That is something that I definitely felt into and saw this year. But then also the other thing that I predicted, and boy, has that been a doozy, is I said that we all live in more or less subjective versions of reality. Some people don't like this, but this is, in my opinion, subjectively very true. So we all live in a bubble of our own subjective reality, and we tend to kind of bump into each other and either invite with various levels of force other people to buy into our worldview and belief system. I said at the beginning of the 2025 that people who were not able to hold space for the fact that multiple things could be true at the same time were going to have a very fucking hard time this year. We are seeing that and then some. Unfortunately, when some of us in the collective are having a hard time dealing with things like that, it really does leak into all of us. So there we are. So looking back, Eileen wanted a card. So I'm going to pull a card for Eileen. Shout out to you guys for being here, by the way. This is like so awesome. I'm so happy that you're here with me right now. The world is like, I know there's so many things vying for our attention right now. And I really am always so grateful and just humbled when people actually want to spend time like chatting with me, things like that. It's funny. For me personally, I'm a manifesting generator, you guys. And I really love bouncing off of people. I love responding, right? So, manifesting generators in human design. And if you don't know yours, come and get a reading, guys. Very much our strategy is to respond to the world around us. And so I really enjoy getting the opportunity to do that. So, Eileen, your card. Oh, Eileen. Girl, you got decide. And this, you can see there's this guy kind of leaping into the void. There's a target here, and then there's this cat here, which is like very much pounce energy, Decide, Eileen. Eileen, if there is something right now that is feeling a little bit like up in the air, it might just require a decision from you. And a decision isn't so much as like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's an energetic thing. So an energetic decision. Now, like, no, if I'm deciding this, it's a full body fuck yes or a full body fuck no. And I'm going to put all my energy behind it. The frequency and the energy of being in an in-between space, and I feel like I'm having a moment where I'm like, I'm saying things I need to hear. The energy of being in an in-between liminal space, that energy of like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that, being a little bit in the middle, a little not in the middle, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's actually like a very addictive energy. And a lot of people don't realize it, because when we think of addiction, we think of things like opioids, or we think of alcohol, or we think of things that are like things that we can typically be addicted to, but we can be addicted to energy. We can be addicted to emotion. We can be addicted to attention, to love, to this and that, like very basic kind of human things. And so sometimes when we get caught in this space of like we're feeling like we're kind of like between two different things and we don't really know what we're doing, sometimes that in and of itself can be an archetypal shadow space. And we have to actually sometimes just cut the shit. I'm not saying in your case you need to cut the shit unless you need to hear that. But we need to cut the shit, and we need to actually go, okay, I'm going to move in a direction. Even if it's not the direction, I need to not be in this place. So I'm going to move in a direction. I'm going to put my full force, full weight behind it. And even if it's not the quote unquote right direction, I will be able to recalibrate after. I will be able to kind of like rezone, whatever. So I don't know how that lands for you, but that is what that card means. Make a decision. Think about something that you can do where you are taking decisive, rapid action on. I recently published a post on Substack on being right is the wrong metric. A lot of us, when we think about intuition, when we think about making decisions, when we think about stuff like that, we think of it in a case of like, I want to make the right decision. Is this a right decision? Is this a wrong decision? And that's actually like the wrong metric of success, because our intuition, our spirit, our whatever, our choices or decisions will lead us where they lead us. We don't get to decide whether or not they're right and wrong, because whether or not something is right and wrong, if you add time to the equation or if you expand in some way, that's going to change. So if you make a decision where you're like, oh my God, this is the worst decision, I totally made the wrong decision, and then say you add 10 years to that, and it's like that needed to happen in order for you to be somewhere that was the right place. So just saying. So I don't know how that lands for you. Okay, so Lauren is saying 2025 has been a doozy, and I'm feeling like it might ease up soon, but I can't tell if that's actually my intuition or just wishful thinking. So something interesting to note, just from an energy reading perspective, and this is going to make me like feel like a psycho. I should have my tinfoil hat here. Why do I not have my tinfoil hat here, you guys? Something that you will notice is that we typically get a little ease up from the craziness in the summer and then fall. So September, October are usually like end of August, September, October are usually like some really crazy shit happens. I'm talking there's like collective craziness. There's stuff that's pushed in front of us. It almost feels as if like the news or all these different things know that people are coming in from outside and going to be paying more attention. And so it feels like this kind of fall energy is always when things ramp up. Just simple pattern recognition. And if anybody here has like an opposing viewpoint, or if they've noticed that themselves, I will say like fall is a time of intense fuckery. Now, when I'm feeling into the rest of 2025, it's really interesting because it does feel a little bit of a lull or a calm, but I'm wondering if that's like a calm before the storm feeling. I feel like we're also traumatized by like the energy over the last 5 years. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Even before that. And so, yeah, it's really interesting because I actually feel when I feel into the energy of like moving forward, it almost feels like a completely different timeline. And I know that kind of makes me sound crazy, but if anybody here is feeling into that as well, it feels like no matter what, it feels almost like this is almost like a cycle completing type energy, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily not going to be better or worse, but it would be a different cycle. So it's like when I feel into collective energy, I feel into cohorts. So whatever cohort I'm in, whatever cohort, certain people ride that same wave. There's obviously all these different cohorts kind of coexisting. This is what it feels like. It feels almost like there's one cohort is ending. And so I don't know what's going to happen next. So that's really interesting. Um, if anybody else has any questions or wants any card pulls, feel free to drop that below. I'm just going to do a quick call to action here, you guys. If you could like this video, that would be super helpful. I am struggling here on YouTube, y'all. Struggling here on YouTube. So if you could like this video, that would be super great. If you're not following, make sure to subscribe. Also check out in the description below. I have some, there's some freebies down there. There's some classes, courses, things like that, ways to work with me. So yeah, now I was going to pull a card here. Just again, if anybody, I feel like I should have like a sign up that's like, if you want a card, pull it, and you're just popping in now, you can. Now I'm going to just pull a card for the rest of 2025 to see what's going. Do you guys want to workshop it with me? It's like one of my favorite things to do. So I'm going to pull one from this deck, which is the Soul Cards deck from Deborah Chapin, because it's that abstract deck that I like. Oh my God, y'all. I love this. I love this. So this is the card that I got. So leaning into the energy of 2025. Now, the interesting thing is that one thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is just confirmation bias on my end, but you will see there's kind of like this character here, and then there's a fracture coming up that seems to be separating two different things. So to me, that feels like a confirmation, in my opinion, of what is of that energy, like I'm saying, of it feeling like one cohort or one energetic kind of reality closing and another one opening up. Now, something that I find interesting about this and oddly hopeful, what is this feeling? Is it hope? Oh my God, I barely recognize it. But it's like there's this character right here that very much has elder energy and almost gives me a sensation of, I want to say grandmother, but it does feel very, I guess, gender non-conforming. I don't know if that's the right word, but it feels like this spirit right here maybe is not gendered, but it's giving me grandmother energy. That's what I'm feeling from it. And the fact that it's got two outstretched palms, one on either side, I mean, that seems very interesting to me, because it seems to me that there is a divide here. There is like a divide here, and this person is a bridge that has one arm in each spot. Is it too much to hope that we are all going to find some common ground and stop picking each other apart and start getting along? um, Looking here at the comments, Eileen is saying, all I immediately think of is Carrie. They're all gonna laugh at you. Oh my God, that's like, I love that so much. So there's this character. Now, again, I do have a video. It's like from a million years ago, and it's definitely potato quality, but it is on intuitive cartomancy, because like one thing I love about this deck is I can pull this card with like 6 different people that I'm working with, and it will mean something different each time. It will twin something different each time. So I like that card. Now looking over here, Lauren is saying, love the grandmother energy. Maybe we're all energetically maturing together. I know. Doesn't it feel a little bit like kind of like scary to even consider? And then, the cure is going online and being like, oh no, the fuck we're not. I'm just kidding. So that is great. So Eileen is saying your answer was so much better. Oh man, so how are you guys all doing lately? How is everybody here doing? What is going on in your lives? What is happening? What is going on for you? I feel like 2025 has truly been a beast. 2025 for me was so mental. Some of you guys might remember, my husband came on into, like, I used to kind of be like, I just was, writing books and doing this and that. And then this year my husband came on with me. And so it's been really great to have his help. He's the one who's been editing my YouTube videos and things like that. We really focused very hard on the Feral Self-Care Collective this year, which was really great. It was really fun for me because every single week I do a workshop. Every single week I've been showing up for myself and all of that. But I will say that there's been a lot of uncertainty. There's been a lot of chaos. There's been a lot of craziness. There's been a lot of like reflection, a lot of expansion, and like pushing myself into really uncharted territory, into territory that does not feel comfortable or that doesn't feel maybe super rewarding. But I will say the expansion itself, like as much as it hurts, it's always a good thing when you add the third variable of time. So looking here, Lauren is saying lots of deep inner changes, being pushed really hard by the universe to level up. It's good, but so intense. That's exactly kind of how I felt over the last years. I felt the exact same as that. Actually, the way that you just phrased that, Lauren, is so perfect. I couldn't have thought of better or more fitting words. And so I appreciate that. It's definitely been a space of like, are you wanting to grow for the right reasons, right? Are you wanting to heal? Are you wanting to level up for the right reasons? Are you doing it for the right reasons? What is your metric of success? Again, like what's going to be your benchmark or your framework as to whether or not it's quote unquote working or not working? And I would say that the spirit part of me is like got that on lock, but the human part of me, so like me and my friend usually talk about it as our human, like my human is sad, my human is scary, my human is like whatever. My human is straight up not having a good time, bro. Like, that's like there's really no other way to put it. Like my human just wants to curl up and have a nap. Okay, looking back here, I'm not in charge. I feel like I've expanded and then contracted into a cocoon, ups and downs. Man, I feel like the people who are here right now chatting, we're all on the same frequency. We are all in the same cohort. And I will say that I'm so blessed to be in such good company. It can be really hard sometimes because I can feel like you're like the only one going through these things. And we're really encouraged to not talk about these like crazy, difficult, hard things we're going through. And even if we were to talk about it, how do you explain it? Like, how do you put words on something that is such a felt experience? It's like telling somebody about your dream last night. Like, you can use the words all you want, but it's profound and meaningful for you, whereas other people aren't going to necessarily understand it. And so I'm really, kind of sorry that we're all going through this, but also I'm really glad to be in such good company because it can feel very lonely to go through expansion like that. It's not pretty, guys. Like trying to expand is not pretty. It is not at all. It's something that is really agonizing. It's something that's really painful. And it's something that really challenges us to let go limp. It's something that challenges us to go limp. And trust. And like, honestly, for a lot of us, I think that trust can be really, really scary. It can be really, it doesn't feel safe. And again, if we're not rewarded right away that our efforts are working, it can feel like dog shit. Okay, so looking back here, Lauren is saying it feels like a lot of the healers right now are being pushed to step into a greater level of power. Absolutely. And at that point, it begs the question, like, what is that level of power? And then we get all that like self-doubt that comes in. Who am I? Am I equipped to have this? Do I have the stable foundation to hold this? Like all sorts of stuff like that. I see another comment here. BC was just led here. Beautiful calming energy. Thank you so much. If you want a card, feel free to drop a comment and I will pull a card from you from my beautiful deck, the Witchcraft Therapy Oracle. But yeah, thank you so much for the questions, you guys, and for letting me know how you are doing. It's really interesting to see that so many of us are kind of in the same vein and the same vibe. It's been a really interesting time, but I will also say a really painful time. I find that usually when I'm in a period of expansion, it can feel sometimes really thrilling. Like, that fear is spicy excitement feeling. It can feel like that. Whereas I would say in 2025, it has felt there wasn't so much that spicy excitement. It really felt towerish. Like it really felt like the lightning bolt hit my tower. There's fucking bricks everywhere. I'm like, I don't know how to start putting. I'm not a fucking tower maker. What am I supposed to do with this pile of shit? Felt like that, which I think is can be even more healing. So April is saying trust is the hardest thing for me. I feel like I need a guarantee that shit is going to work out, even though I know that guarantees don't really exist. Yeah. And I think that that's something that's really common for a lot of us that grew up with like internalized perfection wounds, right? Is that like typically it's hard for us to trust because we've had our trust betrayed, right? And we carry this kind of like internalized mindset that if we don't operate in the quote unquote right way, that we are somehow failing when that's not really the case. Like, why is our bench line failure? That like our benchmark ends up being failure, our baseline ends up being failure. And if we are not overshooting and we are not getting to a place where we're having like massive success, which by the way, like what does that mean for any given person at any given time? What can end up happening is we feel like we are somehow failing when it's like what happened to the baseline? What happened to that fucking middle ground? Like where is it? Is it like the actual middle class? Has it been eradicated? Is it gone? um and so really when it comes to that, it requires a lot of really deep and intense shadow work when it comes to like what are my ideas of what is expected of me at my baseline, right? Am I having to always succeed? Am I having to always perform? Am I having to always do things a quote unquote right or wrong way? Do I even believe there is a right or wrong way, right? Is there one of those ways to be had? Something very interesting. Now I will say for me, this is just a little TMI, but there's only a few of us here, so I think we can get a little bit intimate. I will say for myself, like I was raised by a single mother. I think she loved me in her own way. I never met my dad. So I learned from a very, very early age, like very early, that to get the love, affection, trust, and attention of adults around me, I had to be exceptional. And I'm not just saying like I had to be a good girl or anything like that. I had to be exceptional. I had to be like, wow, that kid is way too smart. I was literally like that asshole. I think I read Dante's Inferno when I was like 9 years old or something like that. Like I didn't know what the fuck any of that meant, but I had to be exceptional because then the adults around me would take care of me. They would love me. I would get attention. I would get affection. So I grew up with this idea that if I was not really excelling to a point of you know completely unsustainable, unrealistic perceptions, that it was like, then who am I, what, like where's my foundation? And because I never really had a foundation of like love or validation, and I had to learn that later in life and learn to give it to myself, it really created this strange pattern where I had to start really tearing down, or like that card we pulled, deprogramming this viewpoint of what I thought was my role in life, what I thought my baseline could be. Can I be average? Can I be ordinary? Like, why do those feel like dirty words, right? And so it's something very interesting to think of. And it's something that I have to think of in short bursts when I do my shadow work. Otherwise, the spiral do be spiraling. So looking back here, Lauren is saying overshooting becomes the norm. The perfection wounds can be so gnarly. Yes, yes, absolutely. It's gotten to a point where it's like, it's crazy. April is saying, yeah, a lot of eldest only daughter and former gifted kid trauma is real and heavy. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I remember. It's so funny. I love those memes about like being the gifted child because I always grew up hearing, how amazing I was. And then when I was a teenager, I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go straight off the rails. I'm going to start doing drugs. I'm going to run away from home. I'm going to self-harm. I'm going to do all these things. And now saying this now, it wasn't like those were like conscious decisions that I made, but that was the reactionary part of my journey where that actually had to happen. And so now I'm super grateful for it. I wouldn't have traded it for anything, but it was almost like when I look back from the perspective that I have now, with the mindset I have now, the spiritual beliefs I have now, and the fact that I've literally devoted my entire career into helping people embrace imperfection, is like, that was, I think, a full body rejection of that. I think that was my way of being like, I'm tired of trying to hold this up. It's too heavy. And so I need to let it basically crash down all around me. So yeah, looking here. I understand you completely. I had to grow up in a house that I tried to be incredibly small. Yes. Oh, yes. You kind of become a fully formed little adult by 9 years old. Yes. Yes. It was, God, it was funny because I love, there's that one meme or whatever that's like, saying something like, "You're an old soul, like, you're just a fucking weird traumatized kid." I'm, like, butchering it, but it's so funny because I was, like, reading Stephen King by, like, 11, and I was learning shit I shouldn't have learned. And it's so funny because I kind of learned, in my opinion, I think this is why I'm so good at the work I do, to be an energetic shapeshifter, right? Be small when you don't wanna be noticed in your home so that you don't attract the attention of somebody that is, really needing to that really doesn't have an outlet for the pain that they're feeling, right? So you learn to make yourself small, but then you learn to make yourself bigger in these other contexts. And so I look at it very much as a shape-shifting ability. And that's something we can all do, by the way. If you're ever going through a hard time in life, this is going to sound unhinged, but this is what I do. If you're going through a hard time in life, remember you always get to just change the story. I went through my whole life feeling very insecure. I was always scared to be seen. I would scared to talk to people. When I would talk to people, I would be so nervous that my like voice would shake and my head. I've never seen anyone talk about this, but this is a very real thing. My head would turn against my will. The fuck is that? It was wild. And that would happen to me because I had such bad social anxiety. And then it's crazy. It's almost like one day I just was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to decide to be a completely different person. Now I've written 5 books. I have a deck. I'm like here in front of y'all. Like it's crazy. So we always get to choose to change our story. Now, the painful part that comes with that is, is that the reason most of us don't want to change is because we're afraid of what's going to happen, what the response is going to be to us. And it is absolutely going to be just as bad as you think. But your commitment to yourself and you, who you are truly inside, and letting that person come out is definitely worth it. People are going to feel some type of way. Do you think people don't talk shit about me? Do you think people don't talk shit about me on the street, even walking past me? They do. I know they do. It's all good. It's fine because I like who I am. Okay, looking back. Well, I mean, I like who I am some days. uh, okay, looking back here. Love me some scary books. Stephen King was my savior. Reading it felt super comfortable to me when I was 12. That's messed up. It's not a comforting story. People don't believe me about, like, the people who haven't read the book do not understand that that book does not end the way the movies have it end. And I know you know what I mean with that. Looking here, question for Mandy and everyone else. What's your favorite Stephen King? Oh, that's such a hard one. You know, I really love that. I loved it. I loved it so much. I love the length of it and the story of it. Um, but I will say his later books didn't really capture me as much, obviously, like but I really loved the fact that regulators and fuck, what's the other one? They're inverse. If you guys have read them, you'll know what I mean. There was regulators and then there was the other one, but they had the same characters, but they were inverse. It was like 2 different versions of the same reality. I'm gonna have to Google this shit. Sorry, y'all. This is, I just can't, I can't. So regulators, and there was another one, but they had a lot of the same characters. And the thing I love about his books is that they have like a similar universe. Desperation, that was it. I really love those 2. I also love that Rose Madder had one of the characters, I think, the girl with the two-toned hair, was in Rose Madder as well. But I think overall, Gerald's Game was good too. I was always like, yeah, I was always into that kinky shit a little bit more. It's very hard to say. I can't, it's like almost I can't even say. My favorite is Christine. It's a weird choice for a favorite, but I totally love it. That was actually my first one by him. And I read it when I was super young. Green Mile was amazing. Hated waiting for the next book to come out. Yes. Yes. I feel like it was such a great movie too, but I feel like it was like a little bit ruined by Doug Hutchinson. I follow Courtney Stodden online. I remember when she was young, seeing her in the gossip tabloids and stuff and being like, this is so fucked up that people are treating her this way, and she's a literal teenager. But he was great in that, Doug Hutchinson, because I wanted to fucking punch that bitch the whole time. And then finding out who he truly was as a person, I was like, oh, there it is. Looking back here again, if anybody is like new here, popping on, wants a card, y'all, I will pull a card for you. We can pull cards. Come on, we're just like having a chat here. Lauren is saying it seems like intuitive people are really drawn to his books because he goes so deep into the psychological layers of other people, and we see those layers all the time anyway. Absolutely, Lauren, I think that's completely 100% true. I know for me personally, it's crazy because when I was young, I kind of like had people, like a lot of grown-ups around me, that were like, are you really sure you should be reading that stuff? Because there's a lot of internal like narration that he talks about, like people's inside thoughts. He writes about them in an outside way. But for me, being somebody that felt like I just was born very old, soul wise, I felt like it was like seeing myself reflected. Like we always want to see ourselves reflected in everything. That's like a key to life, guys, is that everybody just wants to feel seen, heard, and understood. And when I saw, like, when he would talk about these really dark thoughts that people were having on the inside, it was like, oh my God, it's not just me. Because I used to think there was something really fundamentally wrong with me because of the things that I would think. And so, yes, I think that's what it was, is that it's like, I would see these things in other people too, even as like an intuitive kid. I would see the danger in people, and I would see the fear in people, and I would see that, you know, I wasn't one of these kids that thought adults were safe, right? Because of my experiences. And so it was really interesting to kind of get this like inside peek. And to see that I wasn't abnormal, right? And that weird shit it's fun. It's fun to read about. It's cool. It's like these world building experiences. I love world building. I'm not sure what your name is, but I see BC. I subscribed. I know why my guides led me here. Ooh, love that. If you want a card, I'll pull one for you, actually. I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, I'm going to pull one for you. So this is my deck, the Witchcraft Therapy Oracle. I wrote this deck, and so I love it. Just gonna like shuffle it up a bit because I feel like you're probably like, everyone's getting the deprogram card. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you got boundaries. So this card is typically a reminder to look around at the spaces where where you're not holding your energy solid. So for example, if there's places where people are kind of broaching your boundaries from a space of like, you know, getting too much into your space, whether it be energetically, whether it be trying to like push you around, make you do the things that they want you to do. But also, boundaries is very much about just making your inner space, making your kind of pocket of energy a nice place to be, a tolerable place to be. That can be a lot easier said than done, because often like we kind of are the cultivators of our own space first and foremost before we go out and interact with the world out there. But what's going on in our inner world, in our space around us, is actually so fucking important. It's very important for how we show up. It's very important for how we feel. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, being within our own initial sphere, that is like the most important space, but it can also be one of the hardest to maintain and uphold, because we don't typically get socialized or like brought up to think that our relationship with ourselves is the most important part, but it is. So not sure how that lands for you. But this is your call to set some boundaries, whether it be with yourself, whether it be with other people, or whether it just be cultivate your own space. Something that comes up a lot when I work one-to-one with people, which is really interesting, is this idea, I call it, of like proximal space. So sometimes we get very concerned about like the future or the world or things outside there, but really it always starts from in here. So it goes inward, outward. It was funny, I was doing a creator cosmology session with someone the other day. So I do work with creatives, and we were talking about like her list of things to do. What are the things you need to do to accomplish these goals? And like one of the very first things this person mentioned was like cleaning her desk. And I was like, that is so self-aware of you, because most people don't go there first. A lot of people don't like like Jordan Peterson, but like he fucking slapped with that clean your room shit. I will say, because the thing is like, how much influence can we have over all these other things if we can't have influence over the closest proximity to ourselves first? And it's a really important thing. So I'm not sure how that lands for you, but that was the card that you got. So BC just says, I just talked to my guides about me having trust issues, worried that I trust the energy. Wow. Okay. Yes. Hopefully that one speaks to you. So Lauren is saying, I've heard that focusing on one realistic, positive task that's right in front of you can get the stuck energy moving. Yeah. And I would say that's like triply, fucking quadruply, like sextuply. If it ain't a word, it is now. True, if it's a person that has like ADHD or any sort of neurodivergence, right? Is that I think that also can be an addiction, is thinking about these other things. Like, what am I going to do in the future? What am I going to create later? What am I going to, how am I going to solve relationships? How am I going to change the world? What am I going to build next? That sort of energy is very much easier to think of than it is to think about cleaning up literally just half of your like 25 doom piles. Not that I'm talking from experience. In fact, I've lately felt very called. I'm like, you need to just set aside like 20 minutes each day to tackle a doom pile, because all of those things, whether or not you can see them, some part of you knows that they're there and it's draining your energy. So if we're looking at this from like a mental vision perspective, like thinking about the fact that, for example, I have many doom piles in my house. And if you're not familiar with what a doom pile is, a doom pile is that thing where it's like, for me, it'll be like, I'm going to clean my purse. So I like take all the shit out of my purse and then I put it in a bag, and then I put the bag in my closet. I laugh so I don't cry. But one of the things that can be really healing is actually like tackling those things, because even though they're there, it's like you can forget about them, but on some degree, there's like an invisible cord kind of coming from the back of you that is attached to it. That means that you're never gonna fucking feel peace. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's like there's always gonna be something. It's like a hole in your energetic bucket that is like leaving a trail of shit behind you, because it's like, and then what happens is over time that erodes our self-trust, right? This is something that I know very well as somebody that does have some like neurospicy issues, is that it erodes your self-trust, because on some level, you know that you can't trust yourself to tackle those very simple, very easy things. When you can tackle it, it's the expectation that we have put on it. It's the shoulds, the musts, the this, the that, it's all of that. One of the most interesting things that happened for me after I did ayahuasca was I went home and I tackled like all of my doom piles within the first 2 weeks when I got back. Now I have more. That was last year. I did it at the end of September last year. So we're like a year later. So I have a year worth of new doom piles. But I thought that was so interesting, is that I did that ceremony. I did the ayahuasca. I came back and I really felt compelled and called to clean my doom piles. And I felt a lot better afterwards. So yeah, looking here. Mandi, you nailed it. Yes, I have doom piles too. Amazing. Okay, bye, Lauren. Lauren is saying, I've got to go. It's so nice being in the circle with this beautiful energy, much needed energy nourishment. Thank you for being here, Lauren. I have loved to be able to like talk with you lately and everything, and I'm so inspired by everything you're doing. Make sure to go follow Lauren if you are here. So yeah, if nobody else wants more cards, I think I will be popping off. If anybody has any other questions, if you need any guidance, if you want a card pulled, let me know. And if not, then I will probably bid you all good night. So once again, if you're watching this, please like this video. It's so helpful for my tiny, small baby channel. And feel free to check my links below for ways on how you can work with me. I do energy reading paintings that come with like a PDF report of your human design and all of that fun stuff. I do I do one-to-one coaching with people. I do creative coaching, and then I do like one-to-one sessions with people. I love doing things like identity shifting work with people, confidence work. So make sure and check that stuff out. There's also some freebies down below you can get access to. So April is saying Mandy's energy reading paintings are amazing. Oh my God, thank you so much. April is saying, I'd love to hear more about your ayahuasca experience sometime. Yes, my God, once I start talking about that, it's very hard for me to stop. I actually have a podcast episode. There's a YouTube video here too about my ayahuasca ceremony experience, which was incredible. It was really amazing. I will say it was wild. Very hard to describe, very beautiful, very amazing. And it's funny because I still, even when I think about it, is kind of bonkers. It was one of the craziest things. When I did the video, actually, I was not that far out from having the experience. So that was interesting. But I actually kind of cried when I would sweep the floor or do the dishes for the first, like, I felt like I was still high for about 2 weeks, which was wild. I will say, it's, if you've done psilocybin, it's a similar energy in the sense that I was really scared when I went into it because I thought I would like completely lose control and like, lose touch with reality and like all these crazy things, and that like my body wouldn't be safe. And it's weird because you do it in a room with a bunch of people. And so it felt really like scary. But when I did it, it felt very similar to mushrooms in the way of like, if you had to get up and like go to the bathroom or something, they have people that would help you. And I was like, it was almost like I had like an internal gatekeeper of my body that was like watching over my body while I was in this vision journey. Things happened during that. That I still can't make sense of. I had some like really crazy sort of psychic experiences that was wild because I never really considered myself a psychic. I mean, I do energy readings, and I've been getting more and more intuitive hits, and I get messages from people. Sometimes I get messages from people who cross over. So I think maybe I just have like a mental block with that word. But it was really crazy because I felt, there was another participant. I felt his mother's energy in the room. I felt like I took on a lot of different people's energies, emotions, and things during that time. I felt like I saw a lot to do with people in my life. I saw little glimpses into their past. I saw glimpses into what made them who they were. That allowed me to have a deeper understanding of them. That was really interesting. It was one of the most profound situations of my life. And one of the interesting things is I started having dreams, and I heard this as common, but I started having dreams before I did the ceremony, which was wild. So for the couple days before, when I knew I was going to do the ceremony, I started having like ayahuasca dreams before that, which was wild. So yeah, looking here. Oh, I'm so glad you were able to make it, Tammy. I'm so glad that you were here. Um, April is saying, I haven't done any psychedelics, but I'm fascinated by them. They are truly fascinating. There's just no words. I haven't tried any either. Had a half a pot cookie and told my hubby that my knees were glowing sunshine. I think that's wild enough. I love that. One of the facilitators when we did our ceremony with ayahuasca was saying that they're like, you get sick. Part of the process is getting sick. You have to do like a diet first and everything to try and like purify your vessel before you do it. And it was funny because she was saying that when you would get sick, she had someone describe it like throwing up rainbows into the bucket. And I was like, that sounds so crazy. And then when I did, I will tell you, I've never, like, it was like a orgasmic experience vomiting into this bucket. So it felt like every terrible, horrible, stuck energy, like bullshit, craziness, like whatever, felt like I just was purging all of it. It felt so beautiful, so amazing. I was like, I understand the ride the rainbow thing now. So yeah, it was nothing at all like I was expected. And if you guys watch that video podcast about my ayahuasca journey, you'll know that, like, as a Virgo with IBS, like, my number one concern, truly, I was like, am I going to shit myself? Am I going to shit myself? I know it's like not polite to say that, but I feel like everybody that goes to do it is worried about that. And I will say happily, I did not. So if that's ever something you worry about, I spent more time worrying about that than once you do it, you're like, oh, that's not the thing. But that was like my biggest fear for real. I'm like, I'm gonna be in a room full of people. I'm like, am I gonna throw up everywhere and like poop myself and like totally make an ass of myself and go crazy. But once you're in it, it's like those concerns melt away. And actually, that ceremony did a lot for I used to be very self-conscious. And it was funny because that ceremony took the last little bits of self-consciousness I had. Because in that room, I was like, we all have the same equipment. Like we all are operating this meat suit. We're all not very good at it. We are all very vulnerable in these different ways, very human. We are very at the mercy of things like illness, of things like death. And you start to realize you're like, oh no, like there's not really anything to be self-conscious about. It's like we're all really just, I mean, you could be with the queen, well, I guess king of England, and it's like he still has the same fucking equipment that we all do, right? And so it's like the great levels the playing field a little bit. Expelling the negatives, that's totally what it felt like. And it's like it's not just like a symbolic release either. Like it really is coming out. I would have that same fear. Sounds humbling. It was extremely humbling. So make sure and check that out if you're curious about that. But it's something I love talking about. I'm so endlessly interested and hyper fixate on psychedelics for sure. And it's a big part of my life and my practice and things like that. Actually, last night in the Feral Self-Care Collective, we had somebody come on talking about like plant medicine stuff, which is really interesting. Okay, so if nobody wants any more cards, if nobody has any more questions, I'm going to bid you all good night. I hope that you have a really great sleep, a really great night. If you want to book a session with me, I've got all sorts of space open right now. So check out those links below. If you want to grab some of my freebies, some of that stuff, grab that stuff below. If you want to get an energy reading painting, guys, my queue is empty. When my paintbrushes are dry, I don't like the person I become. Eileen is saying feral self-care is the best. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I love that. I feel like people still don't really understand what it is. Same with creator cosmology, but like we're working on it. We're working on it during this tower year. But my sessions are open right now. My queue is open for energy reading paintings. And April is saying Feral Self-Care Collective is excellent. Oh my God, thank you guys so much. It can be very demoralizing sometimes as a creator to not know it, to be like, oh, I hope that people are loving this as much as I am. I will say for me, I have facilitated it for almost a full year now. And that means I have been doing these like active imagination, meditations, creative shadow work, all of these different things I've been showing up for doing weekly with you guys for the entire year. And it has truly been life-changing for me. It has changed my energy. It has changed, like my intuition is like off the charts. It has been so fantastic. And I hope that everybody else is getting those same results being in this program with us. So yes, love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel unless you don't like swearing and stupid jokes, in which case frig off, and make sure to like this video. And I love you guys. Good night. Good night, April. Good night, everybody.